What is up? The N64 is back, baby.
We are back, baby. We are fucking back.
4K N64 launched in 2025, but pre-orders are all gone. Yes, I couldn't get my hands on one.
No, God!
And I know we all are sad about it. I'll be waiting to hopefully get my hands on one when they do come out next year. But with the N64 coming back, why not give you guys the top 10 games I think you need on the system before it comes out? Now look, before we get into it, there's no Mario Kart, there's no Smash Brothers. Those are iconic games. We already know that those are gonna be on the top, at least top 20 to be sure. And of course, you're gonna wanna play those with your friends and everything like that. And then obviously, we're not gonna be going to any wrestling games because N64 had probably the best wrestling games out there with WrestleMania 2000 and WCW NWO Revenge, which I highly recommend it. Me being a WCW fan, WCW versus the NWO Revenge was one of my favorite games of all time. So make sure to check out that one. And we did have a wrestling video that came out earlier, but the best retro wrestling games out there, I'll pin it down below so you guys can check that one out later on. Now, the N64 list was probably one of the hardest ones out there for me because there is a bunch of amazing games. Now, before we get into it, I can go into a top 25. We're doing a top 10, but there's one game that the N64 did not come out with, which I'm super pissed off about, and that is Punch Out. No, I'm just kidding. So here we go with number 10. Number 10, no other on the list is Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Star Wars on the N64 had a lot of games like its own story with Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. But with Star Wars Squadron cracks the list at the top 10, you are followed by the adventures of Luke Skywalker through 15 missions, going through Tatooine, Half-Life Fest, Corellia, and others. I know Empire is everyone's favorite, so don't worry. That battle, Death Star test runs, and Beggar's Canyon were all unlockable secrets. Now, Star Wars Rogue Squadron was one of those type of games that many games now have tried to come out with. Now, when I used to have a PC, I played games like TIE Fighter, I played games like X-Wing. Like, these were cool ass games that we had on a little floppy disk and stuff like that I used to play back in the day. Rogue Squadron made it even better for you. It was kind of like going to the arcade and playing that arcade style one that they had, but I loved it very much. A lot of games have tried to mimic it recently with Squadrons that came out, which flopped very badly. I actually bought it first day and I still haven't beat the game, nor have I been playing online because it had a lot of bugs in it. So if you want to play an amazing Star Wars game when you get the N64, Star Wars Rogue Squadron is the one to get it. Not only are we going into spaceships, but for number 9, there's one thing I loved, which is the water, and I love jet skis. And the number 9 game on my N64 gave you those feels that you were getting on a Kawasaki and going jet skiing on Wave Race 64. Yes, you could be like Owen Wilson that we all thought he was going to be in Loki. I'm being on a jet ski, which also is the 3rd game that came out on the system. The dynamic weather and water conditions made the players fight the elements to have them pull off the most impressive stunts. From jumping over waves to going down into the water, there was many things you were able to do in Wave Race. Now look, Wave Race was fun as hell. It was one of those type of games that to this day, I mean, I will probably play it. Now, you didn't have those sit down wave, jet skis that you had back in the day. Those are the ones you stood up and you had the little pull thing and all that stuff. I used to have one of those with my cousin. Well, he had one. I used to just ride it all the time. But yeah, that's one thing that was pretty cool about jet skis back in the day. Wave Race was awesome. For a 3rd game on the system, it was something that Pilot Wings and Super Mario 64 were kind of out there with their own things. Wave Race gave you that extra element that you needed when you were trying to play the N64. Number 8 on the list. Now, Rare managed to come out with an amazing game in 2000. For our number 8 game is no other than Perfect Dark. Dozens of exciting weapons at your disposal and a highly tweakable combat simulator. You grab 4 of your friends and have a weekend of it. It is a slower paced shooters than most modern entries in the genre, but remains fun to play to this day. Look, Perfect Dark gave us things like Siphon Filter, obviously 007 came out before that one, Metal Gear Solid, all these games that you have coming out now, we can give a lot of it to Perfect Dark for setting up that tone for us. And the story is still so amazing that I will still play it to this day because I love this so much. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it is one that you need to play. We go into number 7. I don't know how it's going to work on the new N64, but the second game in the Pokemon Stadium that included Gold, Silver, and Crystal Pokemon from the Game Boy Color games is no other than Pokemon Stadium 2 as our number 7 game. And if you all know me, my favorite Pokemon is no other than Totodile. The 12 new mini games and quiz mode provided hours of entertainment with your friends with your battling on your Pokemon that you've captured as well. Pokemon Stadium 1 was amazing. Pokemon Stadium 2 brought that element just a little bit higher. I would love to see how they're going to implement this on the new system. Are they going to be able to come out with something like that or not? It's to be seen. Now, I'm a huge Totodile fan. I love second generation Pokemon. I'm a water type person. I would like to know which type of Pokemon is your favorite from the first or second generation. And are you a water type, electric type, grass type, or a fire type? Let me know in the comments below, because now we go into number 6. As I like alligators, but I also like some dinosaurs out there as well. And we got no other than number 6 being Turok Dinosaur Hunter. We go to the Dinosaur Hunter Turok, which is based on the comic book series by Valiant Comics. Now, did you know that Acclaim actually bought the company and called it Acclaimed Comics? Now, the funny thing is that Acclaim relied on Turok to turn their financial issues that they were happening at that time to turn it around for them. Now, Turok became one of the most popular games for the console and was praised for its graphics and evolution of a genre. The game was so great in its graphics that the studio actually had to tone down some of the elements and remove some of it to fit into the 8-bit cartridge. Dino Crisis is an amazing game for the PlayStation, but Turok Dinosaur Hunter was kind of that game that you had to play. I mean, when I mean, mind you, I think that came out in 2000, around that time. I was 18 years old. I was a huge dinosaur fan. When I was growing up, I had books of dinosaurs, little dinosaurs and all that, dino bots from Transformers. So when you just play Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, it just gave you that element. It got remade into a bunch of the systems. It came out with a part 2 to it. So I recommend it for anybody who loves dinosaurs. You got to try it out. It's going to be great. I'm planning on buying it when it comes out for the N64. Well, buying it and then putting it on the new N64 when it comes out. Number 5 on the list. We all wear masks out there, but there's one out there that made you very, very confusing. And it was no other than The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The game had the same engine as Ocarina of Time. Majora's Mask introduced us to a brand new realm of step pieces, characters, and a gameplay mechanics with a 3-day time loop and 24 transformative masks. The urgency of Doom was right around the corner, made every task so important, and make you wonder if it can be completed in 3 days. I've had a lot of like spooky games that come out and stuff like that. Majora's Mask was probably that Zelda game that might have given you some of the chills out there compared to the other ones that they came out. And the story was so great with the 3D atmosphere that, you know, Nintendo was known for coming out with the N64, that it was just one of those games that you had to like have in your hands and play it to yourself, because story was great. It had you on your seat. It had you thinking throughout the whole entire time. So if you haven't played it, check it out. Number 4 is another 3D platformer, but Rare released another game breaking into the top 5, which is no other than number 4 is BanjoKazooie. It is weird seeing a combo of a bird and a bear, but when you put them together with the Super Mario 64 style gameplay, you create a timeless and hilarious adventure with an unlikely crew. Going against the witch and other characters in the game, you use Banjo and Kazooie to get you out of all that trouble. BanjoKazooie was a character that I think Rare was testing with. I think Rare has been amazing coming out with all these characters and all these games that we've had, because they have been hitting on every single mark on every single game that they come out with, or every single character that they come out with. You know, we've had Battletoads from them, we've had BanjoKazooie from them, we've had, you know, obviously Killer Instinct with the characters that they brought out. I love what Rare has done, and when they came out with BanjoKazooie, again with the 3D atmosphere gaming, it just was truly amazing, truly funny. It was their comedic relief to what other systems were coming out with, like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. That was Nintendo's way of giving you that little bit of comic relief out there. But let's get away from the comic relief. Let's get a little bit more serious. All right. My next question is, do you like your martinis shaken or stirred? Because GoldenEye is number 3 on our list. The first-person campaign not only recreated, but expanded on the most action-packed scenes from the movie. Probably the best 007 in the Pierce Brosnan series, GoldenEye had you and your friends playing the 4-player mode, trying to outwit the others, with obviously looking for that golden gun. Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Back in the day, that game was probably the best game in the world. They remade it right recently. We brought it on the Switch. I've actually played it, and I go to myself, it's not the same feel. And I think it's kind of because I'm trying to play it on a big screen. Maybe if I played just on the actual Switch mechanism, might be a little bit better. Maybe with the 4K resolution that we're gonna try getting from the new system coming out, we might be seeing something a little bit better to it. I still loved it. I love playing 4-on-4. So it was always funny because you couldn't, your friends always go, you cannot pick Odd Job. Odd Job is off hooks, you know. We had the people like Jaws, Dr. Dwok, Baron Samadi, Alec, Boris, Russian Shoulder, Archive. It was a lot of funny people that you had in the game. But Odd Job was the one player that no one can play when they were playing that game. So it's kind of weird, but a lot of fun. We break it down now to the last 2 games. And I want to know, before we get into the last 2 games, I want to make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to this video. I'm telling you right now, the last 2 games are pretty much, you know, games that you probably think they're going to be in the last 2. I hope you like so far the top 10. If you think there's any other games that you would include into the top 10 that I didn't put on here, let me know in the comments below, because I would love to know that. But number 2 is no other than, prior to 1996, the thought of Mario being anything else but a side-scroller platform was out of the question. But with the launch of this system came out the new 3D version of Super Mario 64, and that is number 2 on our list for the best N64 games that you gotta play. It was Nintendo's first Mario game that was only single player, so you can tell your little cousins and all that, hey, I'm sorry, this is all on me right now. All the powers were completely revamped, and the star that made you invisible was changed to be the very first thing that you needed to collect. It was such a different game, and one that still to this day is worth playing. Look, Mario 64 is one of those games that people are still doing out there. They're doing speed runs. They're doing, I think I saw a run that was like, you can't use, I think it was like, don't jump or something like that. It was the craziest things in the world that people were trying to do for this challenge. I've seen speed runs. I've seen, you know, different challenges. I haven't done a speed run on Super Mario 64 because I don't think I have the, at my age, I think my reflexes are a little bit too slow, but I would love to try doing one day. Why not? It's a game that if you haven't played it, play it. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna love the story. Forget Mario Galaxy, forget Odyssey, all this. Super Mario 64 is the first one you had to touch with, so you can understand the full aspect of what 3D gaming came out and why Nintendo went into that with, you know, Galaxy and obviously Galaxy 2, and of course Sunshine and all the other games we had in the future for Mario out there. We go to number 1. Look. Number 1 is very simple. I think it's funny because I think for the Super Nintendo, I made the number 1 game was from the series, and it's no other than Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. The game stunned players with an organic, fully explorable world. The mountain in the distance wasn't just a background textures. Players quickly learned that everything on the horizon was a place to discover and explore. The trials that blaze are still seen in open world games today. Even 20 years later, this game is still playable and enjoyable as ever. Look, Ocarina of Time came out and it took everybody by storm. Like, nobody knew what was going on. The game's story was just amazing. It had so many different elements to it. Obviously, Navi was a little annoying with the, hey, listen, half of the time. That was probably the only thing that was annoying about the game. But The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was remade not only on the 3DS, which I own on the 3DS. It was also remade on the GameCube, where it came into 2 discs. It was a collector's edition style game of it. It's a game that literally Nintendo goes, hey, you haven't played it? Play it on the 3DS. You haven't played it? Play on the GameCube. You haven't played it? Play it now on our freaking Switch when the N64 expansion pack came out. They want you to play it because it's such a great story. I loved every single aspect of it. I loved how, you know, Link sees Ganon just run right by and then, you know, wonders what's going on. You know, the flute, you know, when you played it, you know, Epona, which is your horse, it just brought so many elements to it. And I think that honestly, it is probably the top game on the N64. I don't know if I'm gonna get my hands on a game like that because, man, it's gonna be expensive. But I am dying to see what games I can get on this N64, and I am dying to see, you know, with a $249 price tag, it is kind of steep right now for a system, but it's N64. I mean, it's gotta be a system you gotta get. If not, I'm gonna probably try getting myself on a regular retro N64 system, but you know, it's been great. It's been great. It's been a great system. I recommend it. If you have not played any of these games, these are the top 10 games I recommend. There's more games out there, and if you haven't checked those out, check it out right here.